Welcome back to MechaNORN. You know what time it is, talk about giant robots. And here we go with J-Ro again.
What's up, Fosh?
Hey, what's up? Yeah, we're kind of late on these because, certain thing called Thanksgiving kind of hit us.
Yeah.
So
A lot of turkey.
right, spend time with family, all that. So kind of hard to squeeze in the anime. I even skipped, I was like 3 days behind the anime because of that, because, hanging out with family and all that. So it's kind of like, took over priority, but it's fine.
hmm
And,
But
go ahead.
but yeah, I had to make sure that I made the MechaNorn shows the priority watches
Oh, yeah, definitely.
to
I
catch up
squeezed
with
those in.
first.
Yeah, definitely. And we're talking about double episodes again this week, so sorry about that. Just how it happens. And we're gonna start with Gundam Build Fighters Try Episode 7, Straight Assembly Shinon. This one kind of was a interesting episode. It introduced a new team called, I guess their team name is Faith, which kind of made me laugh. I don't know why. It just seems weird. I was expecting like a religious team or something. I heard that. Like gotta pray before we do our battle. It'd be pretty funny.
Wouldn't be surprised with the amount of weird clubs that they come up with for these guys to go up against, that there would be some kind of religious Christian club or something like that.
Right, that would be kind of interesting. But we talked about last week how the swim team was supposed to be the top dog. Apparently not, because they got owned pretty hard by, not even by anything. They got owned by, we were predicting it last week that what if they didn't get a water stage, and sure enough they did not. They got an ice
hmm
stage, and yeah, the Tri Fighter just one shot. It was kind of weird though. What were you expecting? I just expecting them to lose so fast.
Yeah, I was
Wow.
really impressed with how the show actually handled that because they went the comedy route with it and just made them look like idiots for, basing their entire play style around one specific level type. And then to start off the episode that way and to make it funny and to make them just so quickly lose to the Tri-Fighters, I really enjoyed that opening scene.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. But I was thinking about it, they even hinted towards them being this comical team because in the very first introduction of them, you see the main guy, he's at the park or playground on some
hmm
slide and he's talking to himself and then some little kid's watching him. His mom's like, "Don't look at him," pulls him aside. And even in the tournament, they're wearing like swim trunks, so they kind of hinted
Yeah.
at maybe they're not as serious as everyone thinks they are.
Yeah.
But it was pretty funny, like you said. Starting a comical gag was pretty good. And so, this episode they followed them getting into the, I guess, round three, the semifinals, and or the quarterfinals, sorry. And I guess they're going against a rookie team that uses just straight out of the box builds without customizing anything. And they have a interesting person on their team that's, very skilled as far as Sekai can notice his fighting style. He picks up that he must be a boxer, and sure enough, they reveal that
hmm
he was a boxer. And I guess he quit because his little brother got sick and his little brother, I guess, was in the Gunpla and he wasn't, so they kind of switched roles.
Yeah,
Where,
I think
yeah,
I think he was the one that was building the models that they were using in battle.
right, yeah, he was, yeah. And the little kid, they didn't really say, well, if he's dying or whatever, they didn't say anything about it because, again, this is a younger audience series, so they're not gonna say, oh, he's got, cancer or something. They're gonna just
Yeah.
kind of overlook that and say, oh, he's just sick. But yeah, the older brother takes up the role of the fighter, and kind of in season one they have the whole one kid's a fighter, the other kid's the builder, and they kind of form a team. So that's how this little brother and the older brother kind of work together.
hmm
So it was kind of cool. Me, like I said, boxing, and he actually uses a Gundam from Gundam Seed Destiny, the Strike Gundam, and you wouldn't think that'd be a melee Gundam, but it kind of they use it later on as a melee Gundam. It's kind of funny how that went down.
Yeah, it's weird with this series how you look at, especially for Destiny, which is just straight up out of the box, how it was made. To see it being fought with that style is pretty unique from probably what we might have seen in Gundam Seed Destiny.
Right, definitely. I mean, it's more like a ranged machine. It wasn't, as far as melee Gundams go, G Gundam was the only one that has ever done it, back in the day. And I'm trying to remember if the Double O did anything like that, but I don't think they did. So, but yeah, it was definitely interesting. And they see the first fight, and I guess that Team Faith wins easily. But later on, Sekai and the Tri Fighters are approached by the team, and the other kids kind of beg them to let them win for the little brother, and that kind of didn't sit well with me. I was just like, you're in a tournament, a fighting tournament. Why are you doing, trying to say, can you have us win? It's like that's kind of, I don't
Hmm.
know, bad sportsmanship. I would say.
Yeah, it's a thing that it's a storyline I didn't really enjoy because I thought it was hitting at and it's a thing that we have to realize that this is a show for children
Hmm.
because it kind of hits, from my perspective, it's hitting at a very obvious point of, should we, let them win so that this kid's brother can, have some smiles, or do we stand up for ourselves and win? It's not a very strong story from the adult perspective when you're watching middle school kids playing Gunpla, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It was just kind of, one of those things that obviously it's not gonna go down that way. I mean, Sekai and all them have trained for this to get to this tournament, and they're not gonna throw it away just for someone they haven't met. But they actually do meet the kid in the hospital, and they kind of meet with him, and I guess Sekai kind of realized that they shouldn't be. He's not gonna forfeit because of that, and he wants to fight for real. And he sees the other guy, and he's kind of martial arts like him, so he's like, I want to fight him. I want to fight this guy.
Hmm.
And they actually have a pretty good fight. But I was a little pissed off at the whole way that Faith, the other two, how they fight. Basically, they grab the other suit and fly out of the ring. And I was like, somewhere on the line, you have to believe that that's this would disqualify a team. I mean, that's
Hmm.
kind of a crappy way to defeat your enemy. Basically, I hated that.
Yeah, basically go kamikaze on them and just sacrifice yourself to leave the match be one-on-one, which it was an entertaining one-on-one match, but just seeing Fumina and Yuma sort of hesitate to take a stand against him, that was a little disappointing.
Right, and they even kind of, they're about to do their moves on these guys, and they kind of hesitated because they remember the kid that is watching this tournament, and he's gonna be disappointed if they don't win. So it's like, they let that kind of affect them too. But overall, I think the fight between, Sakai and this new kid was pretty interesting. Like you said, Gundam Seed Machine, I've never seen it fight like this, so for me it was kind of new. And they're just beating the hell out of each other, and it was pretty funny how
Mhm.
destroyed their suits were at the very end. But it makes you wonder who's the one repairing Sakai's, build fighter, the burning one, if no one else built it for him. It's like who's that skilled enough to, I guess, repair it after that? But I guess Yuma might be doing it. But
Yeah, possibly him or Fumina or maybe Raul also.
right. But yeah, overall, I mean that fight was pretty cool. What do you think of that one?
It was an awesome fight, and for as much as we didn't really care for the story element of this episode, the action element more than made up for it.
Right, definitely. I would think so too. Extras in the episode, I would say, Gundam Teeth, like we mentioned before. I've never seen it look that great. I mean, this is like Gundam Build Fight is I would say HD level of Gundam Seed right now. Just
Hmm.
very very cool animation. And
Yeah, and it's
oh, sorry.
also not piloted by Jesus.
Right, yeah, that's true. That's very true. And Shimon, the boxer kid, he's a cool character, and I'm pretty sure we haven't seen the last of him. Because I mean,
Hmm.
for me, it feels like they gave him a story and a background just for the reason that he's going to be back later on. I mean, he's not this, side character. He didn't give a backstory, so I mean, I think he's going to be back later on.
Hmm.
And maybe we'll teach Sekai some moves, and they can incorporate some you know, new, I guess, sport skills later on.
Maybe like some moment where Sekai loses and he needs to figure out new ways to fight and win.
Yeah, maybe like a Rocky moment. He's gotta go through some training. And last thing I'll say is a Clandon moment. They have this sick little kid in the hospital. Seems to be an anime trope, but it's fine. I mean, I just thought it was like you said, kind of cheesy how they threw that in there. But yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, again, it's target audience is maybe not what we're thinking about. So, and episode 8, right up after that was upon this shield or my shield or that shield. A lot of different translations for it. I noticed. And this is more episode than proceeding to the next round, basically. And we see a lot of Gyanko and her team, the all-girl team from the academy, and a new. I guess we've not really new. We've seen them a little bit here and there. The Miyazato Institute. I guess we've seen they're all wearing white and gray. So we saw them last week when the other kid kind of showed up that he's going to join them.
Hmm. Yeah, we've seen them a couple times in like the post credits scene, and like they're the big cojones that the Tri Fighters might be fighting in the championship.
Right, and speaking of championship, we're at the semifinals and it's almost done. I was just, kind of disappointed that this is going to be over, but I'm looking forward to the World Tournament when they do that later on. But this is cool just seeing them, they've progressed really fast, and it kind of makes it, I guess, keeps it going instead of, dragging on for weeks and weeks and weeks, which is fine.
Hmm.
And the first fight we see is kind of a random fight between two different teams. We have Team Leviathan versus Team Nadesco, and basically both teams are using these mobile armors, which, like I said last week, that it's three people have to pilot the one machine. It can't be three armors by themselves. But they show this dragon, and it's like just dominates the other team, like it's nothing. It was crazy.
Yeah, that was interesting for me to see too. I don't know if that ever happened in season one where they had one machine that three people were working together to pilot.
Oh yeah, no, this is definitely new for that to have the armor
Oh, okay.
with three people. It's kind of cool seeing that. And I almost thought it was like a Girls and Panzer thing because the girl said something about tank something. I was like, huh. Like they said something about for our tank club or something. I was like, ah, interesting. And the dragon beats the other team and the Tri Fighters to fight it next, and it's one of the fastest fights I've ever seen. Just, they kind of just rip through the dragon like it was nothing. What do you think
Hmm.
of the dragon?
Yeah, I was surprised that fight lasted as quickly as it did too. They kind of, the swim team. It seemed like they had kind of built up a little bit, and we thought though we were joking like, what if they don't get a water stage? But I think deep down we expected, oh, they would get lucky and draw a water stage, but they kind of built them up as kind of like, these might be some tough opponents for the Tri Fighters, and I mean, Tri Fighters made it look easy.
Yeah, they did. They kind of just tore it apart without even blinking. I was like, well, I guess it kind of, because I mean, I don't know, the Nadesco is this big tank-looking thing, and the other one's a flying dragon. So I was like, probably the dragon's probably gonna win. I guess. I mean, just the way it was done, I guess was interesting. But they said something about, I guess, it's a Victory Gundam mod version of a suit in that series. I've never seen Victory Gundam, so I don't know if that's really in there or not, the dragon thing,
Oh,
but it's
I
kind
don't
of
know.
weird. And yeah, so they beat them and progressed to the next round, which is Ganko's team versus the Mizai Sato Institute, which kind of interesting group. They aren't as I don't know, they're not as close as Tri Fighters. I would think they have that because you have the other kid there who's kind of pushed to the side as being the I guess comical character for that group, and this new kid kind of moved in. And he's now top dog on the team, so they kind of use him. And the fight with Ganko's team was kind of interesting. It was very one-sided. I think the Institute team kind of just took them apart easily without even trying. So, what did you think of her fight with them?
Um, I was looking forward to the loss. I was expecting that because I don't know, like her two other teammates, they just they don't really seem to be able to hold their own in battle. They kind of seem like very much support type, and I thought that Gyanko was obviously fighting an uphill battle from the very start against much more skilled opponents.
Right, yeah, definitely. And it kind of like they threw a little bit of comedy in there too, as she was kind of butting heads with the other girl of the team, and those
Hmm.
two kind of had this thing going on that I guess earlier before the fight, Ganko was kind of faking being upset that she has to fight this Institute team and trying to get
Hmm.
her support from Sekai, and she wanted him to say something, and she kind of kidnaps him for a bit, and they kind of talk about it, and
Yeah, going on a date, and then that other girl going on a date, and
right,
then the guy.
yeah, it's pretty funny. Then yeah, after that, like I said, they would fought, and Sekai kind of made a promise to her that he wanted to fight her team in the final round. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but so yeah, it just shows you the Institute team is no one to mess with right now. I mean, I wouldn't know, what they're going to do next with that, but it's going to be interesting to see that fight go down with the Tri Fighters.
It was funny how the episode ended with Sekai like in shock that Gyankyo and her team lost, and they do that scene where he's screaming and they showed a picture of like the explosion surrounding her mech. It was just it's kind of silly but kind of funny in a way.
Yeah, when you realize that you're not really a giant robot,
Yeah.
and you don't need to freak out over it. It's the other team that just lost, but yeah, it's definitely kind of weird. And Sekai did notice that. I guess the other pilot they had, his name is Akira. Yeah, he uses like this I guess fighter jet type thing. He was using martial arts while doing
Hmm.
that, some kind of grapple move. And he did say something earlier to him that your little, Helen school thing is not gonna work on me. So
Yeah.
Sekai's already got that in the back of his head that that's not gonna work on him. What am I gonna do now? You know?
It sounded like you said Hogan School.
Oh yeah, it could be. We need some wrestling moves in here too.
Come on, brother.
I mean, Akira was using some kind of like grapple move wrestling thing and
Yeah.
owned one of the other girls. So it's like you know, so I guess he's gonna be a little hard fight for Sekai to fight next week, and we'll see what happens. Maybe they'll fall into Hoshino and Yuma saving the day or winning this next round.
Hmm.
And I guess extras in the episode, Fumio had this hilarious line in the beginning that was a dream that I guess the kid that was building all these robots and he's famous for what he's doing is
Yeah.
having a daydream about winning this tournament and I guess she's wearing like this dress and everything. She just says the line of, "Can you customize me too?" Like because he's building all these robots.
Yeah.
I just
He was
died.
just like everybody was just blowing him in his dream.
Yeah, just praising him. Oh, you're so good now this and then she makes the comment that, "Can you customize me too?" And he like jumps at her and like it was in his dream saying something about take this part, take this part. I'm like, wow.
Man, she is some I mean that's a ridiculous character design. That is way too much eye candy for a character of her age to I mean she's walking around everywhere in like
Spandex.
yeah, spandex. Yeah, that is it's kind of distracting, I'll admit.
Yeah, I was watching it and my dad was kind of watching in the background. He kind of was getting ready for work and he was watching it and he was like, "That girl is like, she's not wearing much." I'm like, "Yeah, no, she's not."
Hmm.
And I was like, "Believe it or not, she's in middle school." He's like, "Well, okay, that's anime for you, I guess." And
Yeah.
but yeah, I have to agree. I mean, but I think it's because they saw that I think so much fan outpour for like the female characters of the first season that they're like, well, we
Yeah.
want a season where we have a girl as one of the main characters, and that's one thing about Build Fire I really like is they have not just guys doing this, a lot of girls, and it's very, and also the
Hmm.
pairings. There's lots of pairings in the series. I can already see like four of them right now. It's really crazy.
Yeah, we haven't seen the lady character since episode 6 or
Right?
something.
Yeah.
It's been a little while.
I'm expecting to see her soon and they wrap
Yeah.
this up. And speaking of the girls, it seems like he's like a magnet to them. They just are naturally drawn to him. Yeah, even the girl from the institute is kind of like hanging out with him in one of the
Hmm.
scenes with Gyanko, and Gyanko's with them, and it's just funny seeing how oblivious he is to all that, which is what you've come to know in anime all the time. So nothing new there.
Hmm. Yeah, that was a interesting scene. How she was just kind of standing there and just kind of openly asking him, "What you talk about?" Like that's that little bit of a step toward the shipping of those two.
Oh right, yeah. Fumio asked him. Yeah, she was kind of like hanging out at his house, like asking him, "What you guys talk about?" And all this, like, it's obviously something's going on, even if it's not maybe what we're thinking. But I mean,
Hmm.
obviously the creators are pushing them together
Yeah.
for that. But so, what do you think of this episode with Gakko?
It was okay. It was just there wasn't really much battling going on, and so the stuff where Gyanko and Seikai were on their quote unquote date was a pretty fun scene, and by now I'm just looking forward to the championship.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to that fight between the Institute and Tri Fighters to see how they deal with that. Like I said, Sekai is gonna run into trouble with the other kid because he has a martial arts that can probably override his, so it's gonna be kind of hard for him to fight that. And so, yeah, Fumio might have a tough battle because I don't know. I'm interested in seeing what's gonna happen. Like you said, gonna be good. And from that we go to Gundam Reconguista Episode 9, Megafauna to the south. this episode and the next one kind of linked together, so probably talk about them as a whole. That what's going on.
Mm.
And so we pick up with Belle's mom. Kind of, I guess she's kind of seeing things as the pirate's way now. That she's seen the pictures, she sees the proof, and she's starting to come to their side now. That maybe the pirates aren't really all that bad as they say they are. And I guess she's starting to realize that they should team up. And throughout these two episodes, she's going to the Capitol Tower and trying to recruit them to help them. And I guess they're showing you that the Capitol Tower is obviously making their moves now against the army. And it's kind of weird to see that happening. What do you think of that so far?
It's pretty interesting. It is. I feel like it's working towards something that we are kind of expecting. There's this whole thing with the moon now that seems to be taking shape with the story, and the Capital Army seems to be much more assertive in these past couple episodes, especially what we'll talk about in episode 10, that things are really picking up and the factions are becoming transparent isn't the word I'm looking for, but their intentions are more clear.
Right, yeah, I can definitely see the army side is like really weaponizing, getting ready for this big all-out war. While the tower is kind of, the team of the pirates right now, it doesn't really give them much fighting power, I would say, besides the G self, which I think is probably the key to all that, how the other side wins against the army, because yeah, the army has tons of troops, tons of supplies, and like, a lot of weapons on them right now.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, with Belle's mom, she kind of has an audience with the Pope, and something with him, episode 10, he's kind of not feeling good, but with 9, he's just kind of not really answering their questions, and that's kind of like where I think 8 left off with them kind of all talking about, the plan for the moon. And, you got the guy from the army, the leader of that group, and he kind of walks in and just kind of interrupts the meeting, and you can definitely tell he's up to something. He's not really the most trustworthy looking character, I would say. He does look really evil to me, and I would be surprised if he
Hmm.
is, but they could have flipped it around with the Pope's actually the main villain, like we were saying a couple weeks back, that the church obviously is involved here. So let's see what happens with that. And so, Belle and all of them are getting this resupplies for the megafauna, and I guess they keep going further into the tower territory. I guess they're trying to meet him still, so they gotta do that. And Mask, he's up to his old tricks again, trying to fight him, and he has to run away again. So
Yeah.
it seems to be his MO lately.
Yeah, it's kind of a running gag for these stretch of episodes. Um, Kind of seems like it's going to be the way that he always is. Like he's good, but he just doesn't ever seem good enough in
Right,
battle.
that's true. I mean, he's kind of like, I'm gonna get you, and he gets you like, okay, I gotta run away. Like he
Hmm.
can't do a whole lot, and he has to escape. But yeah, I don't know. For now, I guess yeah, nice, maybe a little comic relief. And did you also notice
Hmm.
that the Momentaro, the blue Gundam thing, got blown up? I was like,
Oh, oh wait.
wow, Nick's gonna be so mad when he gets back. Because they put it on like
Oh
a
yeah.
remote control. I'm like, that's dumb.
Oh yeah, yeah. That the is almost like a mobile doll.
Yeah, it just gets like two shot.
Um,
I'm like, okay, well, that's into that one.
yeah, it was funny when Mask was falling off, and that was kind of a good scene. I thought maybe he would have hit the hit that they were sort of aiming the ship so that he could fall, and
hmm
you would think he would hit it harder and kind of break his back with how fast he was falling.
Right, yeah, he was like mid-air skydiving, it's like he had to slow
Hmm.
down the aircraft a little bit, and it's like, in reality, if they slowed it down, he would hit it real hard, like you said, and would probably almost kill
Hmm.
himself doing that. But Gundam, I guess they're like, oh well, physics, who knows that, who
Yeah.
cares?
We'll give him the benefit of the doubt that maybe they flew the ship. Even that, I don't know.
Yeah,
Like if you fly it just at the right speed, that maybe you could decline his speed at which he's falling. I don't know.
right, yeah, there's some math on that. I'm pretty sure someone's gonna explain it in the comments. It is, kind of weird, but again, with Gundam, especially this one, a lot of things happen, just happen. It's just very weird how things just go down in this series. But yeah, so we got that. The battle of Mask runs away. I guess we get more stuff for the church, and I guess he wants to talk about the people in space, and the origins of I guess these batteries. So it was more old tech on the moon. I guess they want to get that they need to fight him. I guess. And I guess the Capital Army still has the monopoly on all these batteries. So it's like, again, the tower kind of has two sides: the Pope and the Church side, who are controlled most of the power right now.
Yeah.
And again, the Pope, like I said, doesn't really give them these straight answers. He kind of like beats around the bush for a bit until the Colonel, I guess, like I said, arrives and interrupts them, shows his, almost not his true colors, but he definitely is hinting at what he's going to be up to later on.
Yeah. It it wasn't the most, you know, it's telling, but it's not really, we don't know the specifics yet of what his plan is.
Right, yeah, that's true. And extras in the episode, like I said, the moment Tower, the Pluton machine gets just completely destroyed and wrecked. I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's the end of that one.
Like, oh, see you
It's
later.
pretty funny. And Ida's still doing her thing with Arcane and not really doing very good. I'll mention something about next episode, but I don't know, as a character, I'm starting to not really like her as much as I used to, unfortunately.
Um, in terms of her ability as a pilot, she does she is very lacking,
Hmm.
and I think it's a little disappointing. I would expect more from her, and I think the show should have written her to be more adequate with fighting and being able to hold her own in battle instead of what we've been seeing these past recent episodes with her.
Hmm.
But I think as a character, I still like her, and we're kind of seeing a little bit more. It seems like she's been saying like thank you more and more these past few episodes, and she's kind of become more maybe polite,
Yeah, I would say so. That's the best word.
respectful.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree on that. Like as far as combat skills go, she's not very good, but the other side's getting better. It's just think the combat stuff, unless they're gonna reveal a story that, maybe she wasn't always, around the mobile suits, and maybe she's just
Mm.
now getting used to it because she's only been doing this for a month or two, and that I would give her more for, more leniency on. But yeah, it's interesting. But and then there's a random party scene that's kind of like it's just out of the blue. There's just these people dancing and everything. I'm like, huh. So the colonel of the army get those some pretty good parts, I guess.
Yeah, and that one leader of the army just got a bunch of girls dancing up
Hmm.
there and stuff.
Yeah, it seems kind of weird. I'm like, well, I guess he is the leader of the army, so maybe the girls kind of flock to him because of that. He's got some power, I
Yeah.
guess. But it just seemed kind of weird. But again, this series is unique, I would say. And jump from that episode 10, Escape from Territory. And like I said, this picks up with the Pope again. He's kind of acting funny. He's complaining he doesn't feel very good, which screams death flag to me that maybe the colonel, maybe of the army, maybe poisoned him or something like that to get him out of his power, out of his seat, basically. And I could see that being a plot later because they do show the two of them alone at the end of the episode, so kind of makes you think that yeah, he's probably gonna die here soon.
Oh yeah.
And so yeah, I guess so. Like I said before, the tower is kind of going against the army, so you kind of will see the battle lines are being drawn. That the tower and the pirates are teamed up as one group, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the moon people join the army later on. I wouldn't couldn't probably see that happening later, maybe.
Oh yeah, I bet definitely.
Yeah, they see that we have a
Um,
common enemy. Oh, the Gundam,
yeah, G Self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the three of them, you have also Ida's dad kind of hangs out with them too to explain his side of the story. And the Pope's just like, well, let's go to space and let's talk there, and that's what those three end up going. Go to space for a bit for now. And again, the colonel, the commander of the army, kind of joins him in that as well, doing his thing. And again, we don't really know what he's up to, what his plan is going to be, but we'll probably see it here soon. And go ahead.
Oh no, never mind.
Okay. I was gonna say, and then next we get the new units, the Wikis, I guess they call them. Kind of a hard name to pronounce, but
Oh, Wuxia or
yeah,
something.
Wuxia, that makes sense. But yeah, those those machines are okay. They seem kind of bulky, and I almost think they took the battle data from Mask in his fight, because I think they're kind of the same.
Yeah, they do seem like that, and it was funny. The cheerleader girls were really funny, and they were kind of pissing off that one guy. It's like, I'm actually looking at it right now. They're wonderful. Oh, the world of men.
Yeah, that made me laugh. And that one guy's like, "Shut up!" or talking to him like, it's
Yeah.
pretty funny. And I guess you talk about the machines too, and like, oh, they're so cool, and it's like, it was just funny just seeing like them show it off, like kind of there's some kind of like expo, like look at this new model. They're showing it off and everything, and
Yeah, it was a lot like that, wasn't
yeah,
it?
and they kind of almost have a Zaku look to them because they showed a shot of like I guess the head unit has like the Cyclops eye, so it looks like a mixture, maybe like a G Self Zaku kind of mixture. Looks kind of like that to me.
Hmm.
And speaking of that, there's a scene that I kind of thought was weird that he jumps on the megaphone and he's hanging on it, and he opens the cockpit and he's just kind of just hanging out there, talking to him. Like this is just so weird that he would get out of his suit like that, and even the enemy points a gun right at him and they don't do anything. I'm like, you could pull the trigger. I mean, it's right there.
Hmm.
And in the line made me laugh. He's like, "Do you mind? I'm trying to have a conversation here." I couldn't stop laughing. Like,
Yeah.
uh,
Then he just kicks the mech.
right, and kind of kicks it and it blows up all fancy cool and like, and they cut back to the guys talking. I'm like, wow, this is it's very weird seeing
Hmm.
things like that, but again, it's very unique, I guess. And Ida's doing her thing again, which it's not very good at it. Again, like I complained with earlier, that I don't think she's a very good fighter. She's even like in the jungle and like, a tree stops her from picking up her rifle. I'm like, oh my god, this girl. I don't know how she survived so long.
Yeah, and I can't remember if it was this episode or the last episode. She was very specific about how the arcane, that's my mobile suit, and you would think for somebody that would talk like that she would feel more comfortable and better in it. To me, I put it more on the show's um, not writing her to be a better fighter.
Right, yeah, like you said, she does proclaim the arcane's hers. No one else uses it. Don't touch it. It's mine. And but yeah, she's still like she's in the training wheels right now, just still learning the basics of the arcane and what it can do. Like when the episode she was trying to go into space, like she had no control over that when it was doing that. She couldn't get it back to Earth, and Belle had to help her. And especially right now in the jungle, she's being like harassed and beaten by the other cross robots, and you even get
Hmm.
like a chokehold, which on a robot makes you laugh. I'm like, it's not doing anything. I don't know. It's just it seems funny when they're like chokeholding her, like trying to like knock her out or something. Like, but it's the robot though. I don't understand what you're
Uh,
doing.
yeah, I'm not sure harassed is the right word. I would say held hostage.
Right, that's true.
Um, mhm.
That's true. And so yeah, then Bell kind of saves her with this new like backpack he's wearing, like this, like two giant rockets. Almost looks like a heavy arms type of design to me from Gundam Wing, and it basically gives him like a big bulky suit, and he just charges and rams the other guy. Like we did mention how melee Gundams in this episode, a lot of
Hmm.
melee going on with Bell, especially this week.
Yeah, it's they continue to find new ways to add enhancements to the G self in this one, like giving it like a big armor to it was really cool, and the way he used it to sort of rescue Ida was pretty cool too.
Right, he took it off and it was flying by itself to ram the other guy to throw him off of Ada, and he just come in there and just melee mode and just beat the hell out of him. It was kind of cool. The animation for it was just like wow, I had to see it like a couple times because it was really nice.
Yeah, I'm watching it play right now, and it's pretty impressive
Yeah,
stuff.
it almost makes you think that the people that work on Recon saw the stuff in Build Fight and was like, you know what, we want to melee fight too, and they kind of did their own thing. It's pretty good.
Yeah, even the part where he punches that Wuxia and then gets behind it and does a kick, like it's pretty impressive
Yeah,
looking.
it's like some like I was talking to my brother about. It's like some like fighting game mechanics or something. Hit someone, teleport behind him, and kind of a Dragon Ball Z element right there.
Hmm. Yeah, it did seem
And I was like,
DBZ-ish.
damn, that was Bill. Like he said, he continues finding new ways to fight, and I think I like this thing. I think that's why I like him so much right now. Unlike the other characters who kind of just are kind of stumbling and falling through, not doing it. But Bell is a good fighter so far.
What's impressive about the animation of that scene where he kicks him back is that there's no blur in the animation during the kick. So sometimes lazier action, they'll kind of add that blurry stuff. But there was pretty solid all the way through in that animation. Great key animation there.
Right, definitely good. And after that, the episode kind of ends with the army revealing their new spaceship. So they're heading to space too, as the megafauna is doing the same thing. And so you can definitely see where the conflict's going to happen here soon in space, even before they get to the moon. And I wouldn't be surprised maybe the moon is the one that kind of has to jump between these two factions and stop them from fighting if they're about peace, but you don't know what they're about yet. So, and I would say the last thing I mentioned that Monday seems to be kind of acting normal. She's slowly getting back.
Hmm.
That I guess we don't know what she really acts like before, but she's slowly starting to act, I guess, normal. I guess is the word I can use right now.
Yeah, she was running away from everybody, jumping over one of those guys to get the G self, and now that we know that they're looking specifically for Bellry and for Monday, we'll start to get more of her character, and maybe we're getting a little bit of it now as she's starting to act normal.
Right, and I think as we get closer to the moon, maybe something will trigger her and she'll start remembering what happened to her, and maybe she'll reveal where the G self comes from, and who knows, maybe she'll jump in the cockpit of the G self and show what everyone what it can really do. As far as Bellary, he's kind of only tapping into that right now. And the extras from the episode is this bro hug moment for the Wixia robots made me laugh. Like they're like in a
Yeah.
huddle, almost like arm over each other and just talking. I'm like, I couldn't stop laughing. But I was like, well, that's how they communicate, and I think that's kind of unique, but it's also kind of random and silly.
Hmm. Yeah, it's like Ginyu
Yeah, it
Force.
definitely feels like it's definitely parodying that a little bit. And there's a moment with Ada's kind of her Arcane kind of getting beaten around, a lot of boob jiggle going on. I noticed. I'm like, wow.
Oh yeah, with like, are you talking about like with the
Yeah,
airbags that
that
they have in
too.
there?
Yeah. Like she gets kicked around, the airbags deploy, which I thought was pretty interesting. The airbag thing, I wasn't thinking about it before, but that's kind of an interesting mechanic they've thrown in there. That I guess the G-force of being kicked or hit, or they kind of are shown
Hmm.
that when maybe they're trying to do some realism on this, but I don't know. I thought the airbag thing's kind of weird.
It seems like the airbag comes in and out as needed, so that you normally think, oh, if you get in a car accident, that airbag deploys, and of course you're not going to be able to use that
Hmm.
again. You're going to need to load up a new one. But it seems like these can be used, maybe like when it feels extreme force pushed against it, that they're able to have these bags automatically deploy, and and when you don't need them in battle, they just sort of go back to uh, deflated form, and then can be used again when hard hit comes.
Right, yeah, it's definitely a cool little mechanic they've thrown in there. It's a small thing, but it's definitely different than most Gundam. I remember in like Gundam Seed, I think there's a scene where one of the kids gets hit and he's kind of, hitting around. And he bangs his head against something and gets knocked out. So it's kind of interesting seeing they improved on some of the safety features, I guess.
Hmm.
So it's like, hey, build robots in the future, in the real world, there you go. Look at this technology.
Hmm. And we were talking about ships from Gundam Build
Hmm.
Fighters. They kind of reinforced the Bellry Ida ship again, as there's one scene where the guy
Yeah.
where Ida was losing, and he was asking, "Are you in love with her?" And he's like, "Oh, it's not that." And then there's that scene where she got out of her arcane, and it was almost like she was her hair was just blowing in the wind and stuff, and Bellry caught a look and must have thought like, "Oh, damn, she's actually hot."
Yeah, 'cause it's like she had her suit unzipped a little bit. He was looking at her and
Yeah.
he's like, "Yeah, you may be love struck right now, but I'm just praying in the back of my head that they're not related, not related." Like, come on, don't do
Yeah.
that. Yeah, don't pull a Star Wars thing where oh they're related. Like we don't want that. But yeah,
Hmm.
definitely can see that. And also there's another ship that I didn't know, forgot about, Mask and his new partner. She's got like pink hair, whatever. We see
Oh
them in the
yeah.
episode. They have these two new robots, and they're kind of waiting to attack. So we're gonna be seeing them next week. So I'm wondering, you know, because those two, even though they're on the same team, and you may not know who he is without the mask, but I could definitely see that being a ship later between those two because they're so close working together. Things can happen. You never
Mhm.
know.
Before we go on to the I'm looking for it here. There's a post that was written by SD
Uh-huh.
Shamsel on Ogiue Maniacs about Tomino's daughter. Of course, Tomino Yoshiyuki, the director of Reconguista, is that, those eye catches where they see everybody
Mm-hmm.
doing these weird dances.
Right.
Apparently, Tomino's daughter does some kind of like some dance choreography, and that's where the inspiration for those dances come from.
Right, yeah. That's pretty interesting, yeah. I guess you put her in that, it's kind of cool to do that. Maybe like a inspiration thing where like, oh, she was doing this, so that's cool. That was my Gundam. That's pretty good.
Hmm.
And so what do you think of these two episodes of Recon? I like where they're going so far.
I like that they are. I like the action in episode 10 a lot. I thought that was some really cool stuff that they had with the sort of the battle in the dark and the jungle like setting, and the new ways that they continue to power G Self and give it a unique ability with the oversized armor. And as for the story, uh, episode 9 more so than 10 kind of worked toward the ideas that or answers that we're looking for, but 10 the Wuxia, they don't really seem like much. They just seem like, okay, here's these mass marketed Gundams. We kind of see it in a lot of series where this new thing, oh, we're going to use this and it's going to beat up everybody. But in reality, these things really aren't that strong, and they're weak, and they're going to fail.
Right, yeah, definitely see that. Because we haven't really seen any, hardcore space battle yet between the tower or the capital or the army and all of them. So it's gonna be interesting seeing how they do the space battles because the army from what we can tell have always been ground units. So it's like how they gonna deal with space, and that's why I'm guessing Mask and his special team comes in. They've probably been specially trained for this for years, and so now they could do their because they got new machines. So I'm assuming that these new machines that they got are better equipped for space versus
Hmm.
the G Self, which I guess can adapt to any environment, which is kind of what Gundam's all about. It's I don't remember there being a Gundam that sucked at being on the ground or in space. It kind of adapts to the environment, so it's pretty good.
Hmm. Yeah.
In episode 10, like you said, they're definitely doing the story pretty well. I think they got a clear path of where things are going to be going here soon. That we have these two factions that have to team up to fight another faction, and it leads the Moon people, and we get to see what they do. Who will they join? Are they gonna join the pirates? Or are they gonna join the army? Or are they gonna be their own separate faction? So it's gonna be interesting to see where that goes.
Hmm. Hmm.
And for that, that's been Gundam Recon. Now for Cross Ange, episode 8 and 9 kind of leading each other, just like the other two episodes. And eight's more about, I guess, Ange and the girls kind of get this a day with they get to have a break basically. They get a vacation, and they have all these booths set up. So it's kind of like a sports festival slash school, yeah, cultural festival with all these booths set out. So girls basically get a vacation for the day, and everyone's wearing bikinis and enjoying their fun in the sun. And there's even like a I guess a relay race type thing thrown in that one of the girls wins. She wins like $1 million. It's pretty funny that they threw that in there. I guess some comic relief, which is what this series kind of needs here and there. And in doing so, Ange finds out there's a elite girl there that she went to school with that knows her family, and she kind of basically uses that as a hostage situation. So they kidnap her and they escape. But when I guess redhead Hilda, she kind of jumps on there and escapes with them. So episode 8 is more about Ange leaving the prison finally. So she finally escapes with her maid and the redhead girl, and they kind of go the separate ways when they get back on. I don't know where they go. I guess they're going to the kingdom. But so yeah, the episode 8 was, like I said, funny. It had a lot of fan service, and not really much for story. But I guess they did reveal in episode 7 that when I guess her youngest sister is alive and was asking for help, which is why Ange planned to escape. So that's why she's doing that. And episode 9 basically picks up with these girls on the run. Hilda kind of goes her separate way because she wants to meet her mom, that I guess abandoned her years ago. And she gets there and things aren't as what she assumes. Her mom doesn't remember her, and in fact, she has a new kid named Hilda as well, and doesn't basically tells her own daughter that she wishes she was never born, and it's your fault this is happening because you're Norma. And so they kind of, Hilda's kind of pushed back out in the real world again. That she realized that her mom doesn't care about her anymore. Kind of sucks for her, but yeah. And with Anne, she's going back to the kingdom because she wants to save her sister, but she's being chased by all these cops and everything. But when she gets there, everything's not as what they seem. Her sister kind of has this other side to her that she reveals that she's pissed off at her sister and attacks her. So you got this little sister in a wheelchair that basically attacks Ange, and the brother takes her. And I guess they're gonna put Ange on trial for something. So that's pretty much what happened with Ange so far this week. And as far as episode extras from the episode, they have Tusk kind of running around. I guess he's gonna either help Ange or bring her back or something. So he's out there watching her. And to Sylvia, I would say she's probably the worst little sister because she does not like Ange whatsoever. And I guess she's been playing her the entire time just to catch her, and so they can get her to, on trial here. So that's pretty much what Ange. Not very much to say about those two episodes.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's progressing somewhere, but yeah, so overall it's been just kind of slow and dragging on.
Yeah, it's kind of, I look at the comments on MechaNORN, and it's a shame that uh, not a lot of people aren't, I guess I can get why people aren't talking about Reconguista. I get that. I think it's still an entertaining show, as do you. But I want more people to talk about Build Fighters on there. I think Build Fighters is a good show that people need to give a chance and watch, because I think it's a genuinely fun
Yeah, I
show.
think so too. It's like one of those that you don't really need to know, Gundam background lore and all that to get into it. It's more about, like I said before in the beginning, that it's more about these, characters who are using Gunpla as a thing to play. They're playing a game basically. If you think about it more like
Hmm.
it, like that kind of, it's not as Gundam-y as people think it is. I mean, I think so anyway. I think it's standalone by itself. Even like you haven't seen much of season one. You just watched season two. I think even you can probably say you can watch this without seeing the first season.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
Recon, like I said, I know why people aren't watching it because it is more Gundam that people. If you don't know Gundam, how they usually play out, you're not gonna find it very entertaining.
Yeah. Or for people that do know how Gundam works.
Right, even though, yeah, I've even seen people that love Gundam kind of hit on Recon as not the best Gundam they've ever seen, but it's entertaining, but it's certainly not the best Gundam ever made. And so I guess we'll see you guys next week for single episodes, if nothing else happens, so we'll see.
All right. See you. Thanks for
Bye.
listening.